What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse ranch, no hate. So now, look, let me get right into this, man. Errol Spence, okay? Let me say this. Anytime something happens, we know we will talk about the fight. But I like to kind of sit back and let some time go by and just look at what's going on and then, say what I'm going to say. Errol Spence did exactly what he was supposed to do against Danny Garcia, okay? People asked, was Errol Spence going to be able to take a punch like he was supposed to, like he used to? A lot of people were saying there's no way in hell that that man had a car accident and going to come back and beat Danny Garcia. Hell no, he's not ready. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. And like I always said, we'll see. I can't speak for Errol Spence, but like I said before, I think it would be completely stupid that you put Errol Spence in a position, or he would put himself and allow himself to be put in a position where he doesn't know what he can take. He's not sure if he can handle a good shot. Of course he's sparred, but wait till his face completely heals and put him in a position where he's getting the work in. But, of course, people don't think about that. They for some reason overlook the training and the methods that you use to get your fighter ready. But at the same time, he was always better than Danny Garcia. Okay. My thing about Danny Garcia was when I look at him, Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, always put him beneath them. Okay. Guys like Kell Brook and Amir Khan, we know he beat Amir Khan. We know Amir Khan just doesn't have a chin. Okay. We know that Amir Khan can box, but he just can't take a good shot. Kell Brook, at one point, I believe, would have beaten Garcia. Okay. That's yet to be seen. It's neither here nor there. I don't think he could beat Garcia now. I don't think he'd beat him now. I just think it's too much wear and tear on Kell Brook. And, it is what it is. But Kell Brook was a fantastic fighter when he was in his prime. Now, prime Kell Brook, I go with over Garcia. I don't think he beat Garcia now. Okay. But one thing that they overlook the fact that Errol Spence can box. And like Errol Spence said in a post-fight interview, he said, I can box and move, and I showed that against Mikey Garcia. He said, but it's just boring to me. And that's the one thing about Errol Spence, that if mentally you slip against the right opponent, they'll beat you simply because you didn't do what you were supposed to. And we know that he can box. If you watch him even in training, how he throws shots at times and move and pivot and all. Look, Errol Spence, there's no way for you to be 5'10", fighting a guy 5'6", 5'7", and you guys are fighting in a phone booth. It's no reason. Even when he said he couldn't fight Sean Porter different if he wanted to. Yeah, you have the physical tools, man. It's the mindset. He knows how Sean Porter fights. As far as I'm concerned, he let Sean Porter dictate what type of fight it was going to be, because he knows Sean is only going to come forward and trying to Sean Porter comes in, he smothers his shots. When he comes in, he tries to get low and he just rushes in. You know what I mean? Inside lateral movement, he throws those like little slapping hooks to try to, trap you from moving backwards. But listen, Errol Spence is fast enough. He has the speed, he has the power and the movement that he can catch Sean Porter the same way he dropped him. Okay, when Sean Porter rushes in, you see how he like to rush? He kind of like shoots a jab out, kind of holds his arm out. He tries to just rush. He smothers his shots. He gets right up on you and try to hold you, do the little dirty boxing on the inside, try to walk you back. He fights. I hate Sean Porter's style. It's the ugliest style, one of the ugliest styles in boxing. He can fight, though. He can fight. But when he tries to press you, it's just constantly rushing forward. Just trying to, throw bombs at you, and he smothers his shots, like I said. And, there's things that Errol Spence can do. Maybe him and his trainer I don't know. Maybe they just don't care to practice those particular things. But Sean Porter, if Errol Spence didn't have pop in his shot, yeah, I could understand then. If he had if he had no power, if he had Paulie Malignaggi type power, okay, yeah, I could understand him saying that then. But with his punching power, no. You can capitalize on Sean Porter. Maybe he's just not capable of doing it because he doesn't think he can. Whatever. But at the end of the day, he did what we know he could do. He used his jab. He went to the body well. He used his movement, you know, and he also stayed aggressive. But he did it in a way where he's not just standing there taking unnecessary bombs. There's times he was getting caught with shots because he just got careless. And he, for some reason, I've never seen a fight where Errol Spence didn't do careless shit. But, you know, overall, he dominated that fight. He won the fight. No excuses. He did what he had to do. Now, for all the people that was saying Danny Garcia was such a beast, he was a monster, he was different, keep that same energy now. Don't start saying that, oh, man, Danny Garcia is overrated. Danny Garcia fell off. Oh, he ain't. No, don't say that now. Because before this fight, you guys said there's no way in hell that Errol Spence would beat him. In fact, you had people that were saying even before the car accident, he wouldn't beat him. So this man had a car accident, tragic. We seen how his car is flipping over. I mean, we seen it. We seen the pictures of his face, his body, how we seen it. And after over a year of inactivity, comes back, no warm-up fight, and beats a unanimous decision over Danny Swift Garcia. Don't start this nonsense about, oh, man, Garcia's overrated because you guys hate Errol Spence. And what happened immediately after that was talks about fighting Terrence Crawford. Is kind of expected in a way because that's just the way people are. But to be honest with you, now people are saying, oh, he's running from Terrence Crawford. Remember, at one point, everybody was running from Errol Spence, right? It's like I said, man, Floyd's been telling you guys this for the longest, and I've been saying this for the longest. They boo you today, they cheer you today, they boo you tomorrow. Bottom line. So he went from being the boogeyman to, oh, I'm scared of Terrence Crawford. There's things that he said where he clearly, like when they were face to face, that video with Terrence Crawford and Spence, and they were face to face, and he was saying, why should I fight you when I could just fight Sean Porter? You know, take the easy, get the easy money, get the easy win first, right? He said that in front of him. I don't think Errol Spence is scared of Terrence Crawford. I don't think Terrence Crawford is scared of Errol Spence. Well, let's get something straight, okay? Who has Terrence Crawford beat at 147 that makes him the man? The biggest name that he has on his resume at 147 is Kell Brook, and we know Kell Brook is not the same fighter anymore. Now, Terrence Crawford is a stylish, accomplished fighter, and he's a very good boxer, okay? And like I said, I don't believe neither one of them is scared of the other. But let's be realistic. You're not at 140 anymore. So for us to sit here and talk about what he did at 140 or 135 has nothing to do with what you're doing right now at 147. Because at 147, guess what? Kell Brook was beat by Errol Spence some years ago. And if the excuse was, oh, because Triple G damaged him, well, guess what? Errol Spence damaged him. And Kell Brook was basically years away from that fight, fighting Terrence Crawford, when Terrence Crawford could have been fighting Keith Thurman. You understand? So for Errol Spence to have Lamont Peterson name on his resume, to have Danny Garcia on his resume, to have Sean Porter on his resume, the only two left, you know, out of those names that's been around for a while, leading the division is Keith Thurman and Terrence Crawford. We don't know what Keith Thurman is doing. Keith Thurman like to do videos just talking about, you know, everybody else's style and who's this and who's that and whatever, but he ain't doing nothing as far as getting in the ring. So we don't know where Keith Thurman stands, all right? And I don't even want to talk about Keith Thurman until he talks about an actual fight that's coming, something we know that a fight is coming up. Pause. You know, so with that being said, look, Errol Spence is the unified champion, WBC, IBF unified champion. How in the hell are you going to say Terrence Crawford is the man at 147 and he hasn't beaten any top fighter at 147? And again, beating a past his prime Kell Brook. I mean, come on, man. There's a lot of people who would have beat Kell Brook that night and would beat him now because he's just not the same fighter, man. He's done. Kell Brook is done, man. Let's just be real. He's no longer in his prime. And this is not even taking a shot at Terrence Crawford. This is just the reality, man. Okay, Anthony Joshua said it best about, and of course we know Kell Brook is not 54 years old, but he said, man, if I fought Tyson and I knocked Tyson out, people would hate me for beating Mike Tyson. which is a fact. People will, oh man, if he was in his prime, they always say that. They always compare Mike Tyson to someone and always, if he was in his prime. No, you guys keep saying Mike Tyson could beat Deontay Wilder right now. He could beat Tyson Fury right now. He could beat Anthony Joshua right now. We just saw him and Roy Jones go in there and have an exhibition, a friendly exhibition that they basically just, whatever you guys, you can think what you want. But you know damn well, you don't, if you really in your hearts believe that Mike Tyson right now could beat any of them, then there's no wonder we have nothing but casuals watching boxing. Because if you think that Mike Tyson that we saw, this is the revigorated, right? Remember, this Mike Tyson is different. He's more focused now. Okay. And you think that same guy we just saw fight Roy Jones a couple of weeks ago will go in there and beat any of these guys? You guys are just as delusional. You're definitely delusional. So don't start this whole thing, like I said, man. Like, we're talking like with trying to shit on Danny Garcia because he lost, and then now all of a sudden we want to boost Terrence Crawford up. And here's the crazy thing, right? A couple of months ago, people were saying that Terrence Crawford was trying to handpick and get easy wins in the division. So it's always this seesaw of who's running from who's done. And it's like, all this theatrics and this soap opera stuff, I'm not even interested in. I just want to see the fights. I'm not concerned about who think what guy's running from what. I can care less about all of that. At the end of the day, if you guys are going to fight, you're going to fight. But let the man, look, the man just won. Right after the fight, people want to ask about this guy, that guy. What about Terrence Crawford? What about this guy? What's next? Look, man, let people celebrate. Like I said, when you see a football team or basketball team win a championship, you don't sit there and say, next year when you got to face the Cowboys opening game, who you think is going to win? No, let them celebrate, man. Let them have their night. If you are not going to fight a person, there's no, or you're not sure if the fight's going to happen, you can sit here, even if he said, hey, I definitely want that fight or whatever, or I want that fight next, you're still going to have people going, oh man, he don't want that fight. And like I said, I don't think either guy is scared of the other. But at the same time, Terrence Crawford hasn't proven anything at 147. This is just reality. And you got the unified champ, and you guys are talking about it's a 50-50 fight, or it's no. And Terrence Crawford is not as well known. Terrence Crawford is a great talent, okay? And I think he's the only guy at 147 that actually can really challenge and possibly beat Errol Spence if Errol Spence is not on his game, okay? I think he's the only one. I don't think Keith Thurman will beat Errol Spence. I don't think Manny Pacquiao will beat Errol Spence. But I guarantee you, Manny Pacquiao versus Errol Spence is a bigger fight than Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence, even though I think personally these guys should be going at each other. Manny Pacquiao still has a title. He's 41, 42, whatever he is now. And if you're going to fight an older guy, it's like, okay, you might as well get that fight over with first because he beats Pacquiao. Pacquiao's old. In Pacquiao's prime, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, whatever. That's neither here nor there. And I would much rather personally see Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford than I would rather see either one of them fight Pacquiao, to be honest with you, personally. But I know that more people would show more interest because Pacquiao is super popular. Okay, and Errol Spence is still that guy. He's a unified champion. How do you have a guy that has one title who hasn't done anything at 147? How you have him ranked over the unified champion? How? So, who's proven more at 147? Okay, and that's the division he's been at all this time. He has more credible names on his resume at 147. Let's not be foolish and sit here and lie to ourselves about who's that guy, who's the main guy at 147. This is not about who I like both of these guys as fighters. And may the best man win if and when they fight. But at the same time, Errol Spence is that guy. If Terrence Crawford beat the names that he beat at 147 and held 2 titles, I'd be saying the same thing about in Terrence Crawford's favor. It's simple as that. I'm not going to sit here and just because I like a fighter more than the other or how I'm going to sit and make excuses for them. No, but let's just be realistic, man. At 147, Errol Spence is that guy. Whether you like him or not, that's not even the point. The point. I can care less about who you like. That's not what this is about. Okay? This the reality that this guy has done more at 147. He's worked his ass off to get where he was. There was a time when everybody was trying to undermine Errol Spence because they knew that he was a threat. And like I said, once you become that man, once you become the guy, once you become the A side, once you become, you get bigger. Now all of a sudden, now, oh yeah, I fight him now. You know, and out of everybody that he beat, the top guys, he beat Danny Garcia far more impressive, more decisively than he did against Porter and against Kell Brook. But Kell Brook was still good. But, you know, with that orbital bone situation, he broke the other side. I mean, it's like, hey, man, you know, too much, like I said, just too much wear and tear on Kell Brook's body, man, too much. But at the end of the day, Spence is that guy. Terrence Crawford, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I think he's the only one that can actually challenge Errol Spence and possibly actually beat him at 147. But at the same time, see, for me, like I said, you never know what guy's going to show up on fight night. You know, the thing we can do is go by what we see them display in the ring. You know, but I can't tell you. You know, I can't never guarantee anything about what a fight is going to do fight night. You know, Errol Spence just did something that people had a lot of questions about. He answered those questions. He won in an astonishing fashion. There's you know, you got to look at the fight again. It was Clinton. No, he won that fight. He did what he had to do, and he showed the guy can box. And I've seen Errol Spence in fights where the guy can box, but like he said, it's boring to him to outpoint a guy and move. He want to get, that's just the way he like to fight. And it's like, no, man, you make a fight harder than it needs to be. And you get hit a lot more and take unnecessary punishment simply because you stand there and want to bang, and then you're trying to do it against shorter fighters. And you're leaving yourself open to get countered. And it's like, for what? For what? So, it is what it is. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say in this video, and I will catch y'all on the next one.